In this video, I'll discuss the pros and cons of a cloud solution. The cloud has several potential benefits for companies. When properly implemented, a cloud deployment can be a very cost-effective solution for businesses that recognize the high costs associated with on-premises architecture. It provides near 100% uptime, a crucial feature for most businesses today if they have any kind of meaningful online presence or requirements for business continuity. The cloud is eminently scalable, allowing you to add and remove services on the fly and take advantage of virtual servers that spin up on demand. Offloading data operations has several beneficial implications, including redundancy, security, and archiving. And with a cloud solution, businesses can rely on the expertise of the cloud provider and gain access to advanced analytics for better business intelligence, or BI. And here's why it's worth migrating to a cloud solution. It's more agile, offering practically unlimited flexibility. You can add or remove services and apps, increase or decrease bandwidth, and add or remove users quickly and effectively. In many ways, it's less complex than owning and managing your own IT because the responsibilities of managing the back-end infrastructure, security, software, and associated duties reside for the most part with the cloud provider. And you can choose from pay-per-use plans that mean you only pay for the services you use. When you're deciding whether the cloud is right for you, you have three basic options to choose from. On-premise, which is wholly owned and operated by you. You can choose a third party to provide management services and support. Public cloud is the model where you purchase online infrastructure from a cloud provider, and that provider manages the infrastructure. And hybrid cloud is a mix of both, where you still have your own infrastructure, but you also have services that you've purchased from a public cloud provider. Which of these three you choose from is really dependent on what you currently have, what you're willing to give up, and what your specific needs require. Every case is different, but certainly by adding the cloud to the mix, you can plan to migrate over time if a public cloud is your ultimate destination. And I'll leave you with a few thoughts about the cloud. Security is almost always the first thing mentioned during a discussion about cloud adoption. People express concerns that the cloud isn't secure, and that's been a common thread for some time now. I think this is because of the perceived psychological hit associated with housing your information on someone else's server. It's human nature to feel better about something that's hosted on something you own, even if that server housing the data isn't even in your own building. But we are seeing a shift in thinking about the security of the cloud. It is secure, and there's plenty of data to prove it, including extensive surveying of CTOs and CIOs. It's faster. You gain a huge benefit by using connections hosted by large companies that have invested billions in state-of-the-art pipelines. It's more reliable because of greater uptime, less downtime, and dedicated experts who manage the data centers and monitor 24/7. And it offers an immense amount of agility that we simply have never seen before, giving organizations the ability to change on the fly. In this video, I'll discuss the key security issues and features of a cloud-based solution. Security is always a key discussion point when talking about the cloud, and in order to understand the issues, let's start by breaking down what kinds of data you need to keep protected. Basically, it fits into four categories. Financial data, self-explanatory, but basically any reports, files, or databases that contain financial information that should be kept private. Customer data, any information that contains details about your customers. Company data, which could be anything that identifies or contains information that you wouldn't want to share with a stranger or leave on a table in a coffee shop. And proprietary data, which drills down on company data. This is information about your company's intellectual property, policies and procedures, and any information about your competitive edge that could be disastrous if it got into the wrong hands. So a question you have to ask yourself when protecting your data is whether you're keeping it safe behind your firewall. In the traditional model of hosting your own information, companies would have their internal network with all the devices on the network and all the data behind a firewall. There probably is a demilitarized zone, or DMZ, where a company can place information that isn't sensitive or proprietary. And then external users can connect to the company, remotely accessing information from the internet. So, how is the cloud different from this model? Well, not much really. In a private cloud like the one I just described, you have your internal network and owned infrastructure, but it's quite possible that your servers aren't on site. Smaller companies might have, but in reality, your data is being accessed from the cloud already if you're providing access, whether it's a website sitting on your servers or if you're providing data access to remote users like employees. In the public cloud, this model is almost identical, except now your data resides on servers of a cloud provider, and the access to remote data and services is secured by the cloud provider's data centers. If your internal security is as good as the security of the cloud provider, then there's little to no difference between the two models. If yours is not as good, then the scales are tipped in favor of the cloud provider. Now, there are misconceptions about cloud security, and they've been around for a while now. I believe that a large part of the problem is the idea that you're relinquishing control, a perceived disadvantage rather than a valid one necessarily. It's not uncommon for people to fear the new and the unknown either. The first misconception is this idea that your data is quote unquote out there as opposed to being in here behind the safety of my firewall. In reality, the big cloud providers use state of the art technology to keep your data safe because if they can't keep it safe, they won't be around very long. The second misconception is the sense that you're giving up control if you move to the cloud. In fact, you have practically the same level of control over your information. You can access it at any time you like from anywhere with the knowledge that it's yours and it's secured. Then there's the inevitable belief that you can't really be sure that it's safe. Modern data breaches are in part to blame for this because we've all heard stories about massive breaches in some instances where the malicious user has been on a system for prolonged periods of time, months even, without being detected. Now, I can't think of any such example from any major cloud provider. On the other hand, user error is another issue that I'll discuss later, and that is a significant issue. And the idea that having your data in the cloud somehow makes it more hackable, which is simply untrue. The information is no more at risk than if your data is sitting on servers that you own, and the major providers have put in place security controls that are second to none. Let's consider a few facts about cloud providers. They offer strong security, as I've already stated. They have deep expertise, often hiring the best in the business to implement and monitor their security architecture. They have sophisticated infrastructure with security controls and redundancy, and they've implemented well-designed standards and procedures to ensure the safety of your data. Gartner performed a significant amount of research on cloud computing and revealed some interesting facts about cloud security. For example, in 2018, they pointed out that through 2022, at least 95% of cloud security failures will be the customer's fault. Drilling down a bit into Gartner's findings, we actually see data suggesting that the cloud offers greater security than owned infrastructure, in part, I think, because companies that choose to go to the private route haven't properly secured their clouds. But it's your information, and you have to be 100% certain that it's going to be safe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking your potential cloud provider for assurances. In fact, it would probably be reckless to make the move without understanding exactly how your provider will protect your information. So ask your prospective vendor for a third-party audit to establish the state of their security. The larger vendors will be able to give you this information easily because they rely on their security and the peace of mind of their customers.